welcome to yet another Sigrun video for God of War 2018. If you are interested in dealing with Sigrun on the highest difficulty in New Game Plus, well, this could be for you. In this video, we look at preparations, strategies, and a closer look at all her moves, including how to react, to retaliate, to predict her next moves, and to anticipate which kind of attacks to look out for during the fight. This video is tagged with chapters and timestamps, so feel free to skip to the relevant section for you as you wish. It is also geared towards the highest difficulty, give me God of War, but some of the content and strategies can be backported or applied to lower difficulties. Note that this is not a beginner's guide and assumes you have already completed the game at least once. We start with some preparations for the fight, which gives tips on how to level the playing field a little bit more in the player's favor. Then we look at all her moves in detail. Each move has a subsection for reacting, follow-ups, and anticipating. Of course, there will be overlaps with some sections of a different attack, for example, because the attack we might be discussing at the moment might be a follow-up of another attack, so it can appear multiple times throughout the video. But I do believe that this is the best format to really zoom in on how she behaves during the fight. When it makes sense, some subsections will be combined. Finally, we have a general strategy section that suggests ways to whittle her health down with minimal risk. It is important, but not mandatory, to be at a high enough level, 10 ideally. This allows the player to have a fighting chance of surviving attacks and to not perish in one hit. It also allows the player to deal a respectable amount of damage to Sigrun compared to an under-leveled attempt. With simple advice, go through the story and complete side quests including Niflheim and Muspelheim trials until all weapons are fully upgraded. Luckily, it can be done in the base story mode, so if you have already done so, you can now sell the Chaos Flames and Frozen Flames for hacksilver instead during New Game Plus. At this point in the game, just acquire every skill using your experience points. They can all be useful. Armor upgrades contribute so much to level ups, which makes doing so essential. All these armors have their own perks and you can read about them in the in-game menu. I don't have a particular advice, as the difference between them will affect your actual attack power, defense, runic, luck, or your perks. This either means you hit harder versus Sigrun, you tank more hits, you can do runic attacks more often, or trigger armor perks more often. You can also combine armors from different sets, for example, to activate perks from each of them. The only warning for players just going through New Game Plus is that there's a considerable amount of hacksilver needed for upgrading any new perfect equipment. For example, the God of War complete set will cost the player around 1 million hacksilver and around 200 scap slags. To find out more about armor upgrades, see the spreadsheet resource linked in the description. At first, it might seem like scap slugs are the rarest resources, but they're not. Going through the story plus Muspelheim and Niflheim will get you enough, if I'm not mistaken. It is hacksilver which is harder to come by. That said, one does not need to upgrade all armor you collect during your journey, as it is possible to defeat her with some armor that is missing a few upgrades. The best tip I can give is to focus your efforts on upgrading the particular piece of armor you really like. Here are some recommendations. Almost all armors are feasible for use once you learn how to deal with Sigrun's attacks. If you really like to upgrade more equipment, you may need to grind for hacksilver. There is a good guide by Boss Battle Gameplay on YouTube on how to farm hacksilver, which I personally used to try out more armors for the fight. I'm linking his guide in the description. This guide only works if you have not yet finished the story though. Here I am yet to complete the main story quest, Locate Tyr's Mysterious Door. Essentially, the farming guide requires you to defeat a bunch of enemies in a specific area, which will respawn after restarting from a checkpoint, but letting you keep your loot and XP. This allows you to earn the XP and hacksilver from the fight again and again. My only other advice is to combine his guide as well with other experience objectives to increase the gain. Here in this example, I have to kill 3 more enemies to gain a 10k XP reward from a labor called Wages of War. You can time the completion of labors to further increase gains and even combine it with other labors.
Nicely done.
In this footage, we kill the enemies, earn the XP, and hack silver from them, plus the XP from the labor completions. We start from the checkpoint and kill the enemies again to earn all of the rewards once more.
Ready yourself!
Enchantments add a lot more useful stats and perks for the fight, so they are crucial. Some of these are only obtainable by fully upgrading the armor set or talisman and trading them to the dwarves as an enchantment. The most useful of these would probably be the Perfect Mark of Kvasir Plus, which allows a realm shift to trigger on a perfect or last minute dodge. Why is that useful? Well, the time slowdown will allow you to deal more damage to Sigrun more often during the realm shift. Further, in the moves section later in the video, we will show the effect of perfect dodges whenever applicable. The glowing gem of the 9 from the base game is also useful since it will trigger a realm shift during an attack instead of a dodge. If you can get your luck up to around 350, it will trigger more often. The armor with the highest luck is the God of War Plus, so with a complete set equipped, combined with some luck-based enchantments, the realm shift can trigger more often. Here are the other perfect enchantments possible to acquire during New Game Plus. There are many good talismans to use, just use the one that you prefer the most. Of course, arguably the most useful is the Talisman of the Realms Plus, which manually triggers a longer realm shift, around 5 seconds, compared to the usual 2-something seconds with a last minute touch trigger, so it is recommended for your first few encounters with Sigrun. And if you're interested about the game-breaking glitch using the Talisman of Betrayal, you have to look elsewhere since I think it is fun initially, but obviously takes away the challenge. Here are the other perfect talismans possible to acquire during New Game Plus. I always prefer the Runic attacks to refresh more often rather than do more damage, but this is totally up to the player. Just remember, Sigrun has a stun meter that depletes, and this means that runic attacks that have a longer sequence might get you clipped in the middle once Sigrun recovers. We will look more at Sigrun's stun mechanics later in the general strategies section. For other things not mentioned here like grips, pommels, Atreus' arrows and armors, and Atreus' runic summons, feel free to use whatever supports your stats or playstyle. The first move we're gonna look at is the wing slap. This is our most common move, and one that branches out to so many other follow-ups. The wing slap can be blocked, dodged, or rolled. Dodging can be difficult to time at first, so here it is shown in slow-mo. Here are a couple of clips where you see how useful a Realm Shift enchantment really is. When you have a Realm Shift enchantment, and you perform a last minute dodge, the time slows down, allowing you to retaliate in between the slaps. Just watch out for the Realm Shift counter, and don't get stuck during the recovery of your attacks when time speeds up again to normal. And always be ready to dodge the second slap. One thing to note during the realm shift, make sure you don't get clipped in between the active duration of our second slap. Depending on your moves and distance, you may need to dodge 2 times during the second slap. Here we will see the follow-up moves of Sigrun after the wing slap. All these moves will have their dedicated sections later in the video, following the same format we are going through right now. This knife stab actually has an interesting property. Kratos appears to be hit, and actually he was, but if you notice there's no incurred damage. This side dash can be dangerous because she will dash away from screen, but it is guaranteed that she is preparing her next attack. Make sure to pan the camera and track her as soon as possible and be ready to react. The following section shows after which moves is Sigrun most likely to do a wing slap. If you can parry at the last minute or have the perfect Mark of Protection enchantment equipped, Countering Blast will trigger and send projectiles back to Sigrun. You are invulnerable while it is active, but be ready to defend once you have recovered from doing this move. Using it is kind of like the Realm Shift, where time slows down, but you need to get a feel for your recovery and react accordingly. However, unlike the Realm Shift, there will be no countdown timer on screen, and you have to rely on the move animation and sound effects. It will take some practice. The general advice for projectiles is to dodge them when far, block them when close. If they are unblockable and you are caught up close, trigger Rage to tank the hits. Be careful with this move as you can do it after any dash, not just after dashing to the right as our minds were conditioned with in the lower difficulties. Here you see her doing it after a backdash, a left side dash, or a right side dash. Also, here is a comparison of the knife stab coming from a wing slap and a dash. The wing slap warns you earlier than the dash and thus might be easier to dodge. She usually uses the Meteor lava to create chaos on screen to partially conceal her plans, but you must anticipate that she will immediately attack with a variety of moves right after. She uses it as a trap for uncontrolled attacks during her recovery, so watch out. A minimum of 2 hits while she is shielded will trigger her to unleash a deadly wave.
Come on, get up, brother! Well, that's it then.
Seems like she won't shield herself if the player does not retaliate during the recovery of her attack. However, as damaging her at every opportunity is a must, just be extra aware that retaliating after the move shown may trigger a shield block. It may be speculation at this point, but it seems like she only shields herself up after a certain window during her recovery is breached with an attack. I was saying speculation because in this instance, she did shield up even without an attack. In any case, the main takeaway is be ready to stop attacking once you see her start to cover up, and be prepared to counter her cocoon-like form as shown earlier. This is the first of the 3 different wing vortex moves of Sigrun. This move always ends in a Valhalla stomp, so we combine the reaction and follow-up sections. It is safe to block this attack, as the tail is always a long wind-up and a scream. It can also be dodged as well as seen here, but we will discuss that dodge and its nuances in the wing vortex rush section. This is the second type of wing vortex from Sigrun. I just thought of calling this move Vortex Carousel because she will keep dashing around the arena and perform a spinning wing attack that will suck you in to absorb more damage. It always culminates in a knife stab once the carousel ends. It is safe to block this attack as the tail is always an off-screen dash, but it can be dodged as well. The timing is put more into focus in the next section under Wing Vortex Rush. To find out if the move is ending, she will do the vortex as usual, but instead of dashing left or right off camera, she will backdash to where she came from, then rushes again to stab. In short, if she stops going around, expect a knife stab. This is the last type of wing vortex move from Sigrun. Unlike the first two wing vortices, I recommend learning to dodge or roll this one as opposed to blocking it, as explained later in the general strategies section, which for now you just have to take my word for. Here, the clip in slow-mo illustrates that there is a proper timing to single dodge this move. If you do it too early, there will be enormous damage in store for you, but rolling is actually safer as it covers more distance, so that is also a valid option. Here, we finally see a comparison of the three wing vortices in slow-mo. The rush and the wind-up vortices have the same active duration, the wind-up ends up always in a single Valhalla stomp, and the rush has no follow-ups but instead ends in a long recovery. The carousel has a short duration but is repeated multiple times, ending in a knife stab. I think the purpose of this move is to confuse us that a wing vortex wind-up is coming, but launches projectiles instead. It should be dealt with like other blockable projectiles. Just like with any non-red ring projectiles, if you can parry last minute or have the perfect mark of protection enchantment equipped, countering blast will trigger and send projectiles back to Sigrun. Again, be ready though to react and defend when the countering blast attack animation is finished. She can do this move 1 or 3 times depending on her mood. Just note that it cannot be dodged and it must be rolled, otherwise she will grab you and inflict a ton of damage. It can also be interrupted by Runics, but you have to anticipate if she will do it more than once and have to do it with the correct timing, depending also on your distance from her. Also, later on in the general strategies section, I will explain some possible pitfalls about interrupting her attacks with Runics. So here we will tackle arguably Sigrun's scariest and most unfair move, the Valhalla Stomp. In order to dodge it, what worked well for me is to immediately dodge as soon as she disappears from the screen. She will drop down real fast. Remember to dodge it backwards or sideways as dodging forward seems to not work at all. Another frustrating thing is she can do it once or 5 times in a row in the highest difficulty. So with it also comes the need to pan the camera around to not lose track of her. A useful setting that works on her is to turn on the recenter camera on attack and strafe assist options, which will pan the camera automatically while she is trying to murder you. More frustrations abound. In the Give Me God of War difficulty, she could delay the landing by launching a projectile first. While the initial advice to dodge immediately after she disappears from screen is still valid and will allow you to dodge the lava projectile, do not immediately dodge again. Delay the next dodge or risk doing it too early and get stepped on. It still requires a bit of practice though, but eventually you will get a feel for the proper timing. Another option is to try to walk slightly backwards after the initial dodge before dodging again, giving you that slight delay that will allow you to time the second dodge properly. If you have the Realm Shift perk and time the dodge at the last second, you can actually damage her pretty nicely in between the stomps. Another thing to take note is she can pull it off from idle, stun, or dash at any time. If she pulls it off from any of these, expect 5 stomps. If she pulls it out from a flyby, a spinning knife throw, or a wing vortex, expect only 1 stomp, plus of course the optional decoy lava projectile. This is the last type of a grounded rush attack, with the first 2 shown earlier being the knife stab or the wing stab and the vortex rush. These 3 rush moves are designed to bait you into reacting the wrong way, so we will discuss how to deal with it later in the general strategies section. The Mace swing is one of the follow-up moves of either the Mace rush or the wing slap. When the previous move is a wing slap, it always has the red ring on it. When the previous move is a Mace rush, it is swung at most 2 times. Interestingly, the first swing has no red ring on it, but the second one has. It doesn't make any sense though, as blocking the first swing without the red ring leaves you blinded and stunned and guarantees you will be hit by the second swing. So both swings have to be dodged or rolled to avoid damage. Here are some side-by-side clips showing the Mace swing originating from a Mace rush and a wing slap. They are the same move, so they can be evaded in the same way. You can choose to swing only once after a Mace rush, then backdash immediately after, dropping a Meteor lava where you are standing, so don't stay in place. Here is a slow-mo version showing how to dodge both swings. Blocking the first move is not advisable as it will get you stunned and hit by the second swing. You may use Rage in this instance to tank the second hit. The second swing can be safely blocked as you will still recover faster than her. Here is a slow-mo version showing how to dodge it properly. Maybe it is just my skill issue, but I am not able to trigger a realm shift when dodging this move. This is why I always parry it instead, which is easier and allows you to skip the second swing in order to retaliate right away. Parrying it can also avoid her shielding up as shown later in the follow-up section. If you have tips on how to trigger a realm shift with a last minute dodge for this one, please share in the comments. Here it is shown that the Scythe swing is also one of the follow-up moves of the Mace rush or the wing slap and can be reacted to in the same way. This attack is meant to blind and damage Kratos, but interestingly, doing a quick turn and not seeing the attack will avoid both the blindness and the damage. You need to face her again after some delay to track her next move. If you face her too early, you will be blinded. All aerial attacks will have other aerial attacks as follow-ups and will end with either the aerial Scythe Rush, the aerial Mace Smash, or the Flyby. We will look at the others in the following sections. This can trigger a realm shift, but unfortunately I don't have any footage of it. If you do trigger it, you can throw the axe at her as a counter. Again, using the countering blast can get you in trouble if you fail to react quickly enough to her next attack. When you know you will not have time to dodge or roll, trigger Rage instead. The Mace Smash has a very wide area of effect, and unless you are halfway across the arena away from Sigrun, you will get hit. You can tank the attack via Rage, throw the axe to her, which may be awkward if you're using the Blades of Chaos because of the pressure to switch weapons. You can also get closer to her and use the Blade's Spear of Chaos attack, or just dodge roll away to safety depending on your distance. One practical skill to use from the hand-to-hand or shield skill tree is the leaping shield attack called the Guardian's Fury. It is invulnerable from the moment you leap and can be used to avoid this attack. With a Realm Shift last-minute dodge perk equipped, there are plenty of opportunities to deal damage to Sigrun while in the middle of an aerial Scythe swing attack sequence. Once you learn the timing of the dodge, it will be rewarding. The aerial Scythe Rush can also be parried if you don't have a Realm Shift perk. Notice that the follow-up attack changes to a Scythe Swing rather than a Scythe Rush in case it was blocked or parried. Here are some side-by-side clips showing the Scythe Rush originating from a grounded and an aerial Scythe Rush. They are the same move, so they can be evaded in the same way. And finally, we compare the Scythe Swing from a Wing Slap and a parried Scythe Rush. Again, they are the same move, so they can be evaded in the same way. Sigrun hits hard already in the base game, but she hits harder in GmGow of War Plus difficulty. Even if your defense is up to 400, it will allow you to tank at most 3 hits depending on the attack that hits you. There are also attacks that stun you, making it impossible or almost impossible to dodge the next move.
Okay, brother! Have you considered a tactical retreat?
She is also much more active and mobile compared to the lower difficulties. Try to avoid fighting her in the cramped area near the portal, so you have enough space to dodge or roll back into without her hitting you. Also avoid having your back against the edge of the fight arena for the same reason. You always want to have space to retreat back to. Look at this comparison clip. All of them are rush attacks, so they have similar tells, but some of them are unblockable. This means blocking during a rush, thinking a blockable attack is on the way, can get you knife stabbed, which is unblockable if you cannot react fast enough. Only the vortex can be blocked here, but it is beneficial to learn the timing on when to dodge or roll it instead, as shown in an earlier section, in order to avoid unblockables too, by having a consistent defensive maneuver during a rush. However, it is not strictly necessary if you can develop the reaction to learn the tell of the unblockable, the red ring. In that case, you can choose to dodge or roll unblockables and block the vortex. This has caused me trouble many more times than I care to admit, so I hope you start having success dealing with it. Some weapon skills and combos do a lot of damage to Sigrun. For the axe, the Pride of the Frost combo does a lot of damage if you can complete it. The Raging Whirlwind and Whirlwind Fury also do a lot of damage, but it takes such a long time to complete. Next, when you throw the axe at her during the aerial mace smash, you can use the Returning Storm, which does some damage and stuns her, but you have to sprint to her bare-handed first. For the blades, both the Chaotic Frenzy and the Chaotic Concussion deal a lot of damage. If you also notice, doing a shield strike will make Kratos switch stance, so you can go straight to a whirlwind attack for the axe or chaotic attack for the blades. This time, after a runic attack, Kratos will again switch stance, so you can perform special moves as well. The normal light to light or light to heavy blade combo also deals a lot of damage if you can complete it, but it is quite impractical to use since Sigrun is very mobile. In realm shifts triggered manually via the Talisman of the Realms or via the glowing gem of the Nine, it can be feasible though. However, I suggest only using the special moves shown here, the Raging Whirlwind, the Whirlwind Fury, and the Chaotic Frenzy, after moves that don't trigger a shield block follow-up, or at least only during realm shifts. The reason is, Sigrun has a tendency to shield up in the middle of your attack, causing the shield to be breached and an unblockable attack to be unleashed. These special moves cannot be interrupted or can be hard to interrupt during its sequence, which gives you little or no time to react if Sigrun puts her shield up. This is where I recommend using the Blade's Chaotic Concussion as a punish because it is short, allows for a quick recovery, does decent damage, and plants a bomb in her that can stun her later. It also breaks the shield block, which is his biggest advantage, so use it in situations where she might do it. As for hand-to-hand or shield skills, some of them could be fun to use up close, but then there also lies its disadvantage that the attacks lack range. The exception is the leaping shield attack, which has a lot of range and also grants invulnerability during its active frames. It can also break the shield block. Also, whenever you dodge back, try to use the retreating attacks from the axe or the blade to deal some more extra damage to Sigrun even when on the defensive. She will kill you if you cannot track her fast enough if she goes off screen. You need to see what her next move is in order to properly react. You can also trigger rage and attack until you get your bearings. It is also advisable to use the target lock button and some settings that will help pan the camera. You still need to pan manually in some situations though, like the off-screen dashes. You cannot always attack without anticipating her next move, as you've seen in the focused videos before, because it could get you killed. She has a habit of dashing away whenever she gets stunned, and worse, if you noticed earlier, she can immediately cover up with a wing shield or immediately transition into a Valhalla stomp without a moment's notice. Try to have a controlled barrage of attacks ready to stop and defend at any moment. Sigrun has an invisible stun meter that seems to deplete the more interruptions and runic attacks you use. Early in the fight, it seems all runic attacks can interrupt and stun her. However, as the fight goes on, runic attacks will no longer stun her. When her stun meter is depleted, she will stop being stunned and will be ready to counter you immediately, which can result in damage or worse, death. It is for this reason that I do not recommend relying on runic attacks to interrupt her during the middle of her attack sequence, for example during the progression of her Valhalla stomps, which could get you hit while in the middle of your runic attack as the fight progresses. I don't have much advice on summons, but I always use the wolves as distance Sigrun. Always watch out what she is planning next though, as the summon attack animation might conceal her next move. Atreus' arrows are pretty much useless against Sigrun, so don't rely on it. If you recognize that you messed up and will get hit, trigger Rage. You can deactivate it again to conserve the meter and use it again in another hairy situation. Abuse realm shifts whenever possible in several situations shown earlier to deal more consequential damage to Sigrun. It was already mentioned earlier but bears repetition, do not get caught unaware that the realm shift counter will soon end. It could put you in a situation when you are not ready to defend. On the plus side, when manually triggering Realm Shift using the Talisman of the Realms, it is recommended to use the Blade's Chaotic Frenzy attack as it deals a ton of damage during a particularly long Realm Shift activation. That said, it could be a great challenge to try to defeat her as well without using Realm Shifts once you get a bit more experienced in dealing with her, and vice versa. If you were not a fan of Realm Shifts in the first place, it could be fun trying it out. If you are confident enough that you can recognize patterns and the tells of her attacks and you have mastered defending them, it could be good to try out the Zeus armor. This allows you to deal a lot of damage to her and finish the fight faster. The downside is you will die in one hit most of the time, again depending on your defense. The only moves that cannot kill you are stepping on her fire puddles or if a piece of ice or knife projectile hits you. But it is a good challenge to try this armor out once you feel confident. Finally, if you want to see mastery of this fight, go see SMVR's and Game Breaker God's fights against Sigrun.
Do not get distracted.